Week 3, Monday. Before my client begins their 5-mile run, a 15-minute warm-up is to be conducted to decrease the chances of injury during the training. The warm-up will consist of static and dynamic stretches, predominantly on the legs as they are the main use. However, some stretches will be used for the arms as they are partially used as well. Some of these stretches would be hamstring, calf, hip and thigh, groin, shoulder and bicep. They can begin their 5-mile run is to be completed in 45 minutes as their aerobic capacity should have improved over the 2 weeks of training. After they complete a run, a 15-minute cool down is to be completed to reduce the chances of injury and DOMS. An ice bath can also be done, but this is optional but is recommended as 5 miles can be quite intense within 45 minutes. It will help aid the process of recovery. Some static and dynamic stretches will need to be done. Some of these would be hamstring, calf, hip, groin, shoulder, bicep and thigh. Tuesday. Before my client starts their weight training, a 15-minute warm-up has been put in place to reduce the chances of injury. The warm-up will consist of static and dynamic stretches, predominantly on the legs as they are the main use. However, stretches will be used for the arms as they are partially used as well. Some of these would be hamstring, quadriceps, calves. To do this, some will be lunges or calf strokes, or a sit and reach to stretch out the backs of your legs. Groin stretches will also be done, shoulder and bicep as well. The exercises I put in place are deadlift, squats and leg press. The exercises are to be done 5 sets of 10 reps of their chosen weight. The weight must be at least 65% of their body weight now, so that they are able to build more muscle. A 15-minute cool down has been put in place to reduce the chance of injury and DOMS. An ice bath can also be done but is optional. It will help aid the process of recovery but is not needed. Some static and dynamic stretches will be needed to be done. Some of these will be hamstring, calf, hip and thigh, groin, shoulder and bicep and tricep. Wednesday. Before my client starts their ladders training, a 15-minute warm-up has been put in place to reduce the chances of injury. The warm-up will consist of static and dynamic stretches on the legs as they are the main use, and for the arms as well as they are used to help generate speed. Some of these stretches will be hamstring, calf, hip, groin, shoulder and bicep. The exercises put in place are to improve the client's agility. It focuses on the Illinois agility test and T-test. Ladders drills. Complete each repetition through the ladder 8 times. 4 drills should be done at regular pace, whilst the other 4 should be done as fast as possible. Complete each drill with speed but precision. First, you have a side straddle hop, which is a quick lateral movement drill that engages your hips and adductors. Hop in and out of each box with both feet, avoiding clapping your feet. Then you have the in and out, which is facing the side of the ladder, of the agility ladder, where you're going to touch in and out of each box with both feet. Repeat this drill on both sides of the ladder. 15-minute cool down has been put in place to reduce the chances of injury and DOMS. An ice bath can also be done but is optional. It will help aid the process of recovery but is not needed. Some static and dynamic stretches will be needed to be done. Some of these would be hamstring, calf, thigh and hip, groin, shoulder, tricep and bicep. Before my client begins their 54-minute swim, a 15-minute warm-up is to be conducted to decrease the chances of injury in training. The warm-up will consist of static and dynamic stretches on the legs and arms. Some of these stretches will be hamstring, calf, hip, thigh, groin, shoulder and bicep. They can begin their swim. They are then to do strokes of front crawl, backstroke, butterfly and breaststroke for 10 minutes each. This should be done in whatever order as long as there's 10 minutes per stroke. Between each stroke the client can have a minute's rest, but these 10 minutes are to be done as hard as possible to be able to get that minute's rest. After they complete their swim, a cool down is to be completed to reduce the chances of injury and DOMS. An ice bath is to be put in place but is optional. Some static and dynamic stretches will be needed to be done. Some of these will be hamstring, calf, hip, groin, shoulder and bicep. Week 4. I chose interval training for my clients because it simulates the work rate in football, as it isn't always consistent. However, it can also burn fat for up to 48 hours after completion, which can help them to be lighter so they are able to post better results in their tests. I chose my client to do hurdles, as it will also give a variation to training agility. It is also used by athletes regularly, usually games players. This suggests that it is very useful and is a good training method. Monday. Before my client starts interval training, a 15 warm-up is to be conducted to decrease the chances of injury during the training. The warm-up will consist of static and dynamic stretches on the legs and arms. Some of these stretches could be hamstring, calf, shoulder, bicep, hip and thigh. The exercises have been put in place to improve the aerobic capacity. My client will start off with 30 seconds of slow rowing on the rowing machine. After that 30, they will do another 30 seconds as fast as they can. This is to be repeated 10 times to make a total of 10 minutes. After they complete interval training, a cool down is to be completed to reduce the chances of injury and DOMS. An ice bath is optional, but will help aid the process of recovery better, but however it is not needed. Some static and dynamic stretches will be needed to be done. Some of these will be similar to the warm-up ones, with hamstring, calf, hip and thigh, groin, shoulder and bicep, which targets the main muscles being used. Tuesday. Before my client begins plyometric training, a 15 warm-up is to be conducted. The warm-up will consist of static dynamic stretches on the legs and a bit on the arms. Some of these stretches will be hamstring, calf and quadricep stretches, predominantly focusing on these muscle groups as they will be most generally used. However, some shoulder and bicep stretches will be done as well. The exercises have been put in place to improve the lower body power. One set will consist of 12 30cm box jumps, 12 standard broad jumps, 12 standard vertical jumps, and 1 footed leaps across the distance of 5 meters. This is to be done as many times as possible in the time given, and breaks can be taken for 1 minute every 3 sets. After they complete plyometric training, a cool down is to be completed to reduce the chances of injury and DOMS. An ice bath can also be done, but is definitely recommended as this exercise is quite intense. So static and dynamic stretches will also be needed to be done. Some of these would be hamstring, calf, and quadriceps, targeting the main muscle groups being used, and also shoulder and bicep and triceps will also be stretched. And Friday will be a repetition of Monday. Week 5. I chose ladders and cones taps to improve my client's agility, as there are many variations as to what you can do on them. This will improve his results and make him even better than they already are. Monday, before my client starts interval training, a 15-minute warm-up is to be conducted to decrease the chances of injury during the training. The warm-up will consist of static and dynamic stretches on the legs and arms, as they are both used. Some stretches could be hamstring, calf, hip, groin, shoulder, bicep, tricep and thigh. The exercises have been put in place to improve the aerobic capacity. My client will start off with 30 seconds of slow rowing on the rowing machine. After that 30, they will then do 1 minute as fast as they can. This is to be repeated 10 times to make a total of 15 minutes. After they complete interval training, a cool down is to be completed to reduce the chance of injury and DOMS. An ice bath can also be done, but is optional. It will help aid the process of recovery, but it's not needed. Some static and dynamic stretches will be needed to be done. Some of these would be hamstring stretch, calf stretch, hip and thigh, groin, shoulder, and a bicep stretch. Before my client starts their weight training, a 15-minute warm-up has been put in place to reduce the chances of injury. Some of these stretches will be static and dynamic, but predominantly on the legs, as they are the main use. However, some will be done on the arms. These stretches could be hamstring, calf, quadricep stretches, as they're the main muscle groups being targeted. However, hip, thigh, groin and shoulder and bicep stretches are also recommended. The exercises I've put in place are deadlift, squats and leg press. The exercises are to be done for 5 sets by 10 reps of their chosen weight. The weight must be at least 80% of their own body weight to see the progression of the muscle building and strengthening. A 15-minute cool down has been put in place to reduce the chance of injury and DOMS. An ice bath can also be done, but is optional. It will help aid the process of recovery, but is not needed. Some static and dynamic stretches will be needed to be done. Some of these would be hamstring, calf, hip and thigh, groin, quadricep, shoulder and bicep. Wednesday, before my client starts ladders training, a 15-minute warm-up has been put in place to reduce the chance of injury. The warm-up will consist of static and dynamic stretches. Some of these stretches will be hamstring, calf, quadricep, hip and thigh, groin, shoulder and bicep. The exercises I've put in place to improve client's agility focus on the Illinois agility test and T-test. Ladders drills is to complete each drill with speed but precision. You have the side straddle hop and the in and out. Then you have cone drills. On each drill, have 30 seconds of work, then a rest for a minute. Example of a drill would be to lay 7 cones out and a number of both sets of cones, 1 to 6 cones outside of them. The client is doing should be doing bounce steps